Here we go. So telemedicine, what it is and how you can access it. We're going to try and, first fill you in on what telemedicine really is, as well as all the different options and how you can access it. And hopefully we'll be able to sort of pave the way so it's a little easier to access it than it would be on your own. So what is telemedicine? Here is the definition by the American Academy of Family Physicians. But in short, it is a service that lets you see healthcare professionals from the comfort of your own home or wherever you have a place to set up devices. And you can see them through those devices that you already have, like your phone, your tablet, your laptop, anything that has a microphone and a webcam. And you can see many different types of medical professionals, such as general physicians, nurses, dermatologists, therapists, psychiatrists, and all of that sort of thing. Now, there are a lot of pros to telemedicine, such as obviously during the coronavirus pandemic, you get to avoid a hospital trip, which is can be very dangerous. And it cuts down on costs because it's cheaper to simply visit via Zoom than to actually travel to the hospital and have a whole checkup with a physician. And it allows you to see healthcare professionals much more consistently as a form of preventative care, as opposed to just treating things once they get bad. And so because things cost less and they're easier to set up, then instead of waiting for a few problems to pile up or maybe hoping things go away, it's a lot easier and cheaper to simply check in with the doctor and catch anything if it is going to turn into a real problem. It also increases independence because, like we said, you can access it from wherever you have a device and an internet connection. Now, there are cons to telemedicine, as the fact that it's through a screen. So the doctor can't do everything that they need to. They can't do any physical examination or anything like that. And they won't have the proper equipment to assess all sorts of things. In some cases, there will be telemedicine stations with something like a stethoscope that plugs into your computer, and then you can use it to take readings, or a Bluetooth scale that you can use to take your weight. But that is generally in sort of pre-set up telemedicine stations. Now, also, a con of telemedicine is that you have to make sure that the tech is working. You have to make sure that your webcam is functioning, that your microphone is functioning. And so that can be a little troublesome to set up if you're not sort of used to that, but that's what we're here for. So we can help you with that. It's not offered by all doctors. Different health plans, different health systems have different policies and whatnot. Although there are set telemedicine providers that we're going to go into later, who you can get telemedicine from, but your primary care physician or whoever you see regularly may not offer telemedicine. And again, it does require you to learn to use telemedicine websites. Now, telemedicine is very good for less severe symptoms, such as this entire list: canker sores, chickenpox, all these things. And like I said earlier, it allows you to check in whenever you get these less severe symptoms, just in case they could indicate something greater. And so hopefully you can prevent any sort of further harm. Telemedicine is not for super extreme cases. It's more for these sort of smaller symptoms and more consistent check-ins. Now, there are many different telemedicine providers. Here are a couple, and They should all be reliable, but they all have sort of strengths and weaknesses. And we would recommend that you do a little research on which telemedicine provider would be best for you. Some of them have different sort of styles. I know Express Care Virtual is, I think, a Christian provider. Joshua, you had some info on some other telemedicine providers.
Yeah. So basically, the majority of them are relatively easy to use. It seemed like Amwell might have been a little more difficult, but I mean, again, all of them have their strengths and weaknesses. Um, so the ones that I looked through, so like Plush Care is relatively easy. Like right when you go to the website, just talk to a doctor. Just pick one of them, and you can just schedule a meeting. That's pretty much how all of them work. So really, it's just whatever catered to your needs most, and which ones are more available in your area.
Yeah, I will say there are some restrictions on where they're available. I know that I believe all of them except for Maple are available in the US, and I don't know, and then Maple is just for Canada. So that's also another factor you have to take in consideration, that certain applications are available in certain countries and not others. So yeah, that's just something to watch out for as well.
Then Camera or Joanna, if you have anything else to add.
Well, yeah, during this time, I mean, I know Ontario has some free telehealth services where you can just call and seek advice, kind of similar to what these providers would offer. So along with paid options, there may be free options depending on where you're coming from, where you're living. So a quick Google search might help you be more clear on that, or getting in contact with someone from Cyber Seniors. They can help you do that if you're having trouble on your own. But yeah, there'll be a lot of information on this presentation to help clarify the telemedicine providers that you see here.
Fantastic. So there are all these different telehealth providers, but to access all of them, if you're on your computer, you can just use whichever web browser you prefer, be it Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Google Chrome, Safari. I'm sure there are others, DuckDuckGo. But if you just open up your browser and then type into the search bar the name of the telehealth provider, for example, MD Live, or Maple, or any of the telehealth providers we mentioned, then you should come up with their website. That will generally be the top result. If you click on the link to their website and open it up, they generally have fairly simple step-by-step walkthroughs as to how to get set up with everything. Now, if you're on your phone or tablet, then if it is an Apple device, you will want to go to the App Store. And then in the bottom right, there should be a little search button. It says search, and it has a magnifying glass. If you tap that, then you'll get the search bar in the App Store. And you can tap the search bar and then type in the name of the telehealth provider you would like. And so again, this could be MD Live, Maple, Plush Care, any of that. And on an Android device, then you'll go to the Play Store, which has that play button, the rotated triangle on its side with the blue, green, yellow, and red. And I believe that there's a search bar right at the top of the Play Store, although I do not have an Android device. Josh, do you have Android?
Yeah, I do. It's fairly simple. It's just a search bar on the top, and then you can just go right into it and just type in your whatever provider you want, whatever telemedicine guy you want.
Okay, fantastic. And if you would prefer to access your primary care doctor as opposed to a sort of dedicated telemedicine doctor, or somebody working for a telemedicine company, then you can get into contact with your healthcare provider, and generally say on their website, or if you call them, then they can tell you if they have, if they are set up to handle telemedicine and online appointments, or if that's not a feature that they support. because not all doctors will be online. Not all doctors will handle telemedicine appointments. Now, we're going to use MD Live as an example. So this should apply to all of the telemedicine apps and telemedicine services. They'll all look a little different, but this sort of standard process should apply. So if you go to their website, in this case, MD Live, and then click on whichever button they have, like Get Started or Schedule an Appointment, or whichever button, they will generally ask for some personal information that they need to know, such as your first name, last name, your current email, so that they can get in contact with you. And then they will have you create a username and password. And make sure to hang on to these and hopefully have them be secure. And then they will also have you enter things like your date of birth, phone number, zip code, gender, and insurance information. And then you'll have to agree to their terms of service for their legal protection. Now, when setting up an appointment, the costs will be different depending on how much your insurance covers it. And so maybe it would be quite expensive, maybe it would be free. It depends. But these are the costs for MD Live with no insurance coverage. And so you can just select whichever service you want. There are generally a couple different services that each provider offers. MD Live offers these services, such as just a simple medical visit, therapist, psychiatrist, or dermatologist. And so you select your visit and then schedule a visit. While you're scheduling, you'll be asked some simple questions that you might be asked at the doctor's office before the doctor sees you. Questions like what your symptoms are, how you were doing in general, pre-existing conditions. And so you'll have to budget a few minutes for this. And then if you have symptoms that are visible, such as a rash or something like that, then you may be asked to take a photo so that the doctor can assess it, get some extra information. And so in this case, if you just click whichever button, like upload from a phone, generally there will be an option to take the photo right from the app. And these services are confidential, and so you should not have to worry about your photos going anywhere. But yes, these photos can be very useful because one of the big downsides of telemedicine is that the doctor can't see you. And so this is the next best thing. And then, yes, you'll have to fill out your health profile. Like I was saying, all the different maybe pre-existing things, medications that you're taking, allergies, all of that. And so then you'll be able to choose a doctor and schedule an appointment. The services should have appointments at all sorts of different times, so you should be able to find one that works for you. And often they'll have settings for choosing a specialty, a language, and a gender, so that you have a professional who you can communicate well with and who you're comfortable with. And as well as you can choose, I believe, whether it's over the phone or a video appointment like here. And so you can really customize these visits. Now for payment, you will have to fill out your insurance information as well as your payment information. But once you have filled this out once, it should be stored in the system so that if you go through this telehealth provider again, then they will be able to sort of pull it up and you'll be able to set up your meeting much more quickly. And so once you've completed all these steps, then you are scheduled. And you'll have to virtually, digitally show up at the time of the appointment. by going through the same site that you set the appointment up on, or the same app on your phone, and accessing the call. But yeah, while you're choosing your telemedicine app, remember that not all apps will look the same or offer the same services, but they should all provide the same basic functionality, such as accessing doctors, but they'll have different strengths and weaknesses. We would recommend doing research, but if that, you can always just play it safe and choose one of the options that we've given you. And if you're going to do research, it should be fairly easy to look up on your browser, like we said earlier, just typing in the name of the site and then like reviews or like rating or something like that, so that you can get different opinions on all the different telemedicine sites. And then it is important to remember that telemedicine and all these apps are really great for consistent check-ins and check-ins about minor symptoms and staying away from a hospital when there's a pandemic going on, but they're not appropriate for every issue. And so they should definitely be used in conjunction with real-world visits when you can make those real-world visits.